Hey, what's up? I'm Lindsey Jordan from Snail Mail.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Of course.
Um, uh, Valentine is a new album, and we're playing the song Valentine. It's great, and thank you. um, the song has so Lush was like it was like in my top five of
Woo!
good. Oh, look at that! Love that. That's
Crazy.
fun. Gatefold? Okay. Getting fancy with it. Love that. Wow.
Anyway, sorry, Lush.
The Valentine, and the couple songs that are out right now, Ben Franklin and Madonna. I would say got a little bit more like bite than Lush. And I was wondering like what sound did you want compared to Lush on Valentine?
Um, well, okay, so I guess Lush was like, it's like crazy to me that it even got successful because literally like it was the most basic experience, like putting it down. Like I was in high school and I just had all these songs sitting around and I made a couple more like that ended up making it onto the album that honestly, like to me, I won't list them because I don't want to put them down. But to me, like the ones that got made like for the album don't have the same magic as the ones that already were there. And it was just a matter of like, I had no interest in what the production element stuff like side of it was. So I was there for every step of it, but I was like pretty not caring. I was like, do whatever, put whatever pedal on. Like it wasn't, I was like, not my business. Like, and then Valentine, I was producing. So it's a lot, it's very different. And I had already fleshed out a lot of the demo work by myself. Just me, a guitar and a mini log. And then going into the actual studio process, it was a matter of trial and error and just coming up with stuff. And I think that the expansion of the whole sound with the auxiliary instrumentation and the pop twist and all that stuff is just a matter of, the songs already being fleshed out, being demos and like being songs already. And then I was like, okay, what would make this song like be its best self? Because it's already good as a guitar and a vocal, like pretty much all of them are great as they were, but I was just like I was interested in exploring different avenues and things that would keep me like personally engaged.
Why do you think you like didn't care about it on Lush and then were like I need to do this now?
I think it's just a trial and error type of thing, as in like and a maturity thing. I mean, part of growing up for me, a big part of like self-discovery and going from being a teenage artist to an adult artist has been discovering I just am very particular about how I like things to be done. So in a lot of cases that means doing more work just to have it be done exactly how I like, but it's more rewarding than sitting back. And I think nowadays that's something I know about myself. And back then I was so overwhelmed with how much was happening. I was like, why would I really try to inform myself about the studio and all that stuff? Because I'm already like, how do I play to a click track? Everything was so quick. And now I'm like, I know how the studio works. I know what to expect. And I know that just putting in a little extra personal work makes the whole thing a little more like rewarding. Same thing goes for the music videos. I was like, all right, I'm going to take this into my own hands because I know how I like things to be done. And I think it was just a matter of music video styling, the live sound now, all of it is just, like about it being ultimately grand. I feel like that's how I would describe like how I like things to be.
Ultimately grand.
Grand and correct.
What's something, can you give me an example of something on the album that like took a long time for you to get just right?
Yeah, I mean, Automate is my favorite on the record, and I think it was rewritten and changed so many times by the time it became like what it is now. It was not a different song, but just so far from what it originally was. That's how I know like I got it exactly where I wanted it to be. The lyrics, especially because the song has so much space there's a lot of room for a lot of words. And that was something that I wanted to be very careful about, because I'm like, I really could just throw whatever in here, but it's like a matter of making everything. I use the word right because like for me, there really is a right and wrong way to do everything in the studio. Like the sequencing, everyone had different opinions when it came down to it. And I was like, well, the sequence, I made it correct. So this is how it is. Like there is a correct place for everything. It's like math.
That's interesting. Was it hard to write the lyrics on this? I mean,
Yes.
like, I'm sure it was. I mean, it's like to just come up with one album in its own is difficult. And what was it like to write the lyrics for this?
I think it's just like a process of convincing myself that I am a good artist and writer. Like that's what the whole thing was. Cause the habit, like I'm proud of that EP. I was a child when I made it. And at the same time, a lot of those lyrics like mean less than you would think. Because I just was like, yeah, this, this deep down in a shrouded way, this means something to me, but the narratives are unclear without an explanation. And Lush then goes on, I think, to sort of be, it was like a building block in like figuring out how I like to do lyricism. And it informed a lot of what I'm doing now, but I didn't feel like it was anywhere near as intentional as what I'm doing now. So then bringing in intention and like crafting these, turning my experience into like careful narratives, and then even being here and explaining them is super weird. But that being like, I'm going to make these lyrics and everything really means something. I could explain each lyric to you, like, and it would have a seriously important meaning to me.
Yes.
And I couldn't say the same for, could not say the same for all my other lyrics like prior, So,
Yeah.
and it's hard. I mean, it is like, sometimes I'll read poetry, especially I read and I'm like, where does that come from?
Right.
Like a degree or what? And it's just like the same sometimes with lyrics. I'm like, how does that, like Mitski, I'm like, this person can make some lyrics, you know what I'm talking about? And that doesn't even like seem like, that doesn't even seem like an attainable like thing to like look up at. So then I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna try to make lyrics that seem good to me and take it from there. And that's a long process.
I really love the lyric, doesn't obsession become just me? Because I feel like there's like a lot behind that. Could you break that one down?
Yes. So yeah, doesn't obsession just become me, and then there's doesn't obsession just become you. And I mean, the song is very much about like that one. It was the last song that I wrote in the process, and I think I love those lyrics. I think they're so bitchy and raw and like super like a lot of the events that I'm writing about in those songs like are kind of, I'm processing them as I go, but that song is like everything was already in the process of being pretty processed. And I was like, all right, well, this is how I feel about it. And it's I don't know, it was just like a lot of like already well-developed thoughts and ideas. And that lyric is just kind of saying like it's kind of, you could kind of use it to describe the entire record. It's basically just saying, once I am all in this relationship or in any relationship, aren't I just totally fucked? Like, look, it's like I can't even see clearly because I'm just like obsessed, and that has become my entire year, whatever. In any case, like, it's just like, and then on the other hand, it's like you can't see clearly either that I'm being horrible, because it's like you're obsessed too. And like the song is really outlining this love that was like super rose-colored glasses and super flawed and like super.
I was gonna say, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I feel like in relationships, like we want them to be all in, like you want to be consumed, but also there's like, you've been in relationships where you're consumed and it's like, man, I don't know if this is what I was looking for. So what is it?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I think like I have been in both. I've been in both for sure, where like it's like a obsession, a healthy obsession, it's an unhealthy obsession. And like I think the relationship that I'm talking about in particular was one where the obsession would have been there whether or not that person was obsessed too. I was like that immediately. I think it's like once you put somebody on a pedestal of any sort, you're kind of like choosing to not look at the bad things too. And I think like I can't really give love advice, but I think it's about striking a balance, because like once the obsession is a fully formed obsession, it can't be healthy. Like you can't make excuses for people. I don't think I don't know, like you maybe.
But then it becomes it's a lot of pressure on the other person to reciprocate that.
Well, yeah, and you got to make sure that you're obsessed with them, not like a concept.
And it's like a competing, like, it's like a race to the bottom of like who is more in. I mean, and like when it's at its worst, it's like it can be it can really, that's all it can be about.
Totally. Who's gonna fuck up the other person's perception of love first?
Right. Woo! Wow, that was good. I heard that you read a lot, and
I like to, yeah.
I had read that you were reading Joan Didion, who's one of my faves.
That's a great book.
Yeah. What are you reading right now?
Okay, so right now, I just got back from a Europe press tour, and I started not Portnoy's Complaint, the other one, American Pastoral by Philip Roth, and working my way through that one. It's quick page turner. I'm loving it. I've been reading Anna Karenina for the last couple months. I know, but I'm loving it. And then also, I just started. What's it called? The oh God, I have it in my bag. What the fuck is it called? It's red. Something about, what is it? Something about love. What is it? Bell hooks.
Oh, what we talk about when we talk about
that's good old that would be good old Raymond Carver.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just started it. It's about bell hooks. It's the one everybody loves by bell hooks, where she's talking about love and she talks about like Monica Lewinsky and stuff. But what are you reading?
What am I reading?
Yeah.
I'm reading this book called A Really Big Lunch.
Okay.
By Jim Harrison, who was a poet first, and he's a poet first, and then he wrote a bunch of like novels and nonfiction. And this one is all about food. And his like, I love people who are poets first, because his romance about food like spills over, and the way that he describes, there's like, this one part I just read yesterday where he was talking about wanting to, he loves eating and he loves drinking, and he talked about being reincarnated, and he wanted to be reincarnated as a tree in a field that a cow would rub its back on after it got bit by a fly, and like the piece of that. And then he's also like, he's talking about a tree, and he was talking about the roots, and he was like, well, the roots go into the soil and that's how they get nutrition, but there are these hairs on the roots, and I've always wanted to eat through my hair. And I was like, what?
Yo, we need, it's the truly crazy people that like really are making the revolutionary work. I'm hip. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I really admire when people have positive views of being reincarnated as like non-sentient things.
So
like,
do I. So do I. It's like every conversation I've ever had about reincarnation is like, I either was someone incredibly important or am going to be somebody incredibly important. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works.
No. Did you read the Overstory?
No.
That book it's all about like people's lives alongside trees and like the importance of trees, and it's beautiful. But there's like a real focus on like the wisest characters of the book being like, to be reincarnated as a tree is the ultimate destiny, like blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, let me be a human, let me just try again. I think that's like that's like the worst. Like, you're not supposed to say that if you're ultimately like awoken,
right,
enlightened. But I'm still like, let me be a person. Like, I want to acai bowl. Let me get an acai bowl. Let me get my phone.
Let me get my phone. Is so real. Do you believe in reincarnation? What's your deal?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I'm raised Catholic, like, and I believe to some degree, like a lot of that stuff. There's like a lot of it that I do, whether it just be like residual OCD, like issues about this is right and this is wrong. I definitely believe in like a lot of the morality in that stuff, like, and that like coming back, but I don't know if it's in heaven or hell. Like, I think it will all come back, but the energetic stuff makes more sense to me. Like, that we would come back as like something else makes more sense to me. But
I
yeah. What do you think?
I agree with the energy. I heard that, or I read that you were obsessed with confession, and that
Like,
you could.
clinically obsessed.
Okay, and I was like, what's the read on that? Because I grew up Catholic too, and I was like, it could be like an accumulation of guilt that you need to like get rid of, or it could be just like having somebody to talk to. What was the root of that?
It's OCD. It's like actually like a compulsion. I think
Really?
for sure. Yeah. And it's lasted into my adult life to like a certain degree. It's not like the same, it's different. But like when I was little, I remember one particularly scarring confession after Sunday school where the priest told me that I wasn't even aware of how much bad stuff. I was a child, I was like 7,
Whoa.
about how much like bad stuff I wasn't even talking about. Like he was like, if you fight with your sibling, like you confess, like you get a bad grade, you confess, you talk back to your parents, you confess. And I remember being like, oh my God, I have so much to confess. I'm such a sinner. And like, I really believed all that stuff. Like I wanted to be perfect for my parents, and I wanted to like, and I prayed all the time, and I was in the church band as a little kid. And like, I got to a point where then classic compulsion style, I couldn't stop confessing anything I'd done. Like I'd be like, I picked up a dollar bill in the street, it wasn't mine, like to my parents. And I did it until 5th grade when one day it just went away, like as those things kind of do, but it still exists like in other ways. Like if I can't ever be like shifty, because I just can't, like I could never like cheat on somebody, because I'm just, if I did, it'd be like, hey, I have something I need to tell you, because I just can't keep any like secrets, and it's not other people's secrets, but if I feel like I'm doing something that's like not right, I feel like I have to like check with someone else.
Yeah, that.
That's like just has stayed with me forever. And maybe it's honestly probably why my music is like, I'm like blurting out truths about myself that I then don't really want to like have to follow through with.
There's definitely something there. There is 100%.
1000. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good that this is your confession now. Like instead of a priest, you've got you've got a microphone. It's
Exactly. I mean, yeah, totally.
I would love to come out of the interview by playing a song from somebody else on the radio.
Cool.
What's like the last song that you were really obsessed with?
Oh my God. I just newly got obsessed with a lot of songs, which hasn't happened to me in like a year.
Love it.
Um, I'm loving Pink Pantheress. I would like venture to say I'm super fanning. And my favorite song by her currently is not, it's either Just for Me or let me see. There's one that I just put in like 6 playlists. Hold on.
Yeah, look at
Oh, freaking, it's called I Must Apologize. That song's crazy. And then also I've been really obsessed with Spirit of the Beehive.
Ooh, yes. I saw it.
Yeah.
Just announced a tour today. What
Oh, cool.
yeah. They are in a very interesting band. What do you like about them, or why are you drawn?
The song that I'm like really obsessed with right now is Nail I Couldn't Bite, though I've been like going through the records like as one I think should, as one is intended to. And I don't know, my band has been obsessed with them for like longer than I could even tell you. Like our drummer used to live in Philly, and like he's been trying to like make me hip forever. And I think, I don't know, indie rock greatness. I'm like, I can hear it. I can like identify it easily. And I so rarely am like, yes. And they just like, there's just like something magical going on that you can tell they're like talented, and music fans, you know, like
Yeah.
and sometimes it's just like a carefully crafted song. It just like kicks my ass for being clearly carefully crafted. I don't know.
There's
Yeah, and
definitely a lot of thoughts going on in those songs.
yeah, and they're just clearly not gonna ever make the same record twice,
Oh
which
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, that very special band.
Yeah. Cool. Um, that's it. I'll play that song and then that'll be it. So
Cool.
thank you for Valentine and thank you for Lush and everything, you know.
Yeah, I'm really glad you like everything, and thanks for this interview. This was fun.